Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Major IT outages have hit industries across the world, with almost 1,400 flights being cancelled and banking, healthcare and shops affected. There are huge queues in airports around the world after cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike says a defect in one of its software updates hit Windows operating systems. CrowdStrike has lost a fifth of its value in pre-market trading in the US, down 21%, a loss of $16 billion in its overnight valuation. The issue has been identified, isolated, and a fix has been deployed, the firm says. This was the scene at Disneyland Paris, with error messages displayed on screens at the amusement park. On X, Elon Musk tried to sum up the incident, saying it was the biggest IT fail ever.
Since the problem with this software affects Windows computers and it makes Windows computers crash with their traditional blue screen, most people would assume it's a problem with Microsoft's software, and so Microsoft is also helping its customers deal with the outage, even if it's not caused by Microsoft itself.
5 days after surviving an assassination attempt, Donald Trump has addressed the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee in Wisconsin. In a speech lasting an hour and a half, he described feeling the assassin's bullet hit his ear and being smothered by Secret Service agents. His address lasted 90 minutes and was a mix of script and ad-lib. The former president told supporters about his attempted assassination and his plans for the country.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that.
Meanwhile, Melania and Ivanka Trump made a rare appearance at the Republican National Convention, showing support for Donald Trump's bid. Entering the event in Milwaukee to a warm round of applause, the former president's wife waved to the crowd before taking a seat in the family box. Unlike previous Republican conventions in 2016 and 2020, she did not give a speech. She was joined by Mr. Trump's eldest daughter, Ivanka, and her husband, Jared Kushner, who has also been noticeably absent from the campaign trail. US journalist Evan Gershkovich has been sentenced by a Russian court to 16 years in a high-security penal colony on espionage charges. The Wall Street Journal reporter was first arrested last March while on a reporting trip in the city of Yekaterinburg, about 1,600 kilometers east of Moscow, by security services. Prosecutors have accused him of working for the CIA, accusations Mr. Gershkovich, the Wall Street Journal, and the US deny. It marks the first conviction of a US journalist for espionage in Russia since the Cold War ended more than 30 years ago. Protesters have stormed the building compound of the Bangladesh state broadcaster BTV in Dhaka as violence sparked by student anger against quotas for government jobs escalated nationwide. Videos shot by an eyewitness show a mob of demonstrators armed with rocks and sticks tearing through the gates of the TV station. Protesters were also seen throwing rocks and smashing windows in the compound. The violence in 47 of Bangladesh's 64 districts has killed at least 27 and injured 1,500. 2 large oil tankers were on fire in waters near Singapore, the world's biggest refueling port, with 2 crew members airlifted to hospital and others rescued from life rafts. The Singapore-flagged tanker Hafnia Nile and Principe-flagged tanker Ceres 1 were about 55 kilometers northeast of the Singaporean island of Pedra Branca. The 22 crew of the Hafnia Nile and the 40 on the Ceres 1 were all accounted for. The cause of the fires was not immediately clear, but the owner of the Hafnia Nile said the vessel was involved in a collision with the Ceres 1. And China has sent a new Earth observation satellite into space from the Taiyuan Satellite Launch Center in North China's Shanxi province. The Gaofen 1105 satellite lifted off atop a Long March 4B carrier rocket and entered its intended orbit. The satellite will carry out national land surveys, urban planning, land rights verification, road network planning, crop yield estimation, and disaster response efforts. The launch marked the 528th flight mission for China's Long March series of carrier rockets. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.